Wife Material Podcast. Can bad bitches be wives? Well, the first thing is to try to understand, what guys consider bad bitches and what women consider bad bitches. One of the issues is that tends to happen when a female self-proclaims herself as a bad bitch. I'll say bad B. As a bad B, she tends to have certain character traits, certain personalities that aren't good, right? That aren't the best. And I always say there's like no one wants a bad person, right? No one wants a person with a toxic traits, right? A person who is negative 90% of the time. A person who's going to be argumentative, right? Bossy, right? That tends to be one of the bad bitch personas, is being bossy. So it's like we need to figure out, what makes a chick a bad B. And like I said, it's like the idea of like understanding that most guys, when they say chick is a bad B, it's like a high compliment. It's like trying to say she's super, super his type, right? She's super hot. But not that she has bad personality traits or she has a boss B personality trait, right? She's an alpha female, like none of that nonsense, right? So typically, we have to deal with trying to separate, what makes a female a bad B in a guy's eyes versus what a bad B in a female's eyes. And that's the thing, is like, since guys are the ones who choose their wives, choose the women they're gonna spend the rest of their life with, clearly their definition of a bad B is the most important definition. Because everybody likes to self-proclaim themselves as something they're not. Somebody would claim they're a CEO, but they're not. All they have is probably like an affiliate link or something, and they make money that way, and they consider themselves a CEO. Like that kind of nonsense, right? Self-proclaiming themselves. So that's why self-proclaiming to be a bad B. It's like, I don't know, everyone else has to call you that. Everybody else has to see you as that for you to, truly be that, right? That's a label that's given to you. It's not a label you give to yourself. So it's one of the issues that comes around, because sometimes you ask a female, like I see videos online of females being asked, what they bring to the table, and a lot of times they mention, that it's like, well, I'm beautiful, I'm this, that, and the third, I got money, blah, 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 I'm a bad B, blah, blah, blah. It's like, man, that's not something to try to promote, right? The whole I'm a bad B. And you normally see that they have like negative personality traits, right? They seem like they would be toxic, that they would be superficial, that money is top priority for them, and the list goes on and on. So they're very materialistic, and that tends to be a problem, because then that just leads to basically a gold digger that's going to have an attitude. Like, and it's bad enough, right? Hard to find love when someone just only wants you for your money, but then you add the bad attitude on top of it. So that's essentially what most females, when they call themselves bad B, that's essentially what they're trying to say. It's like, I'm a gold digger with attitude. And it's like, those two things are not good, and those two things combined just even worse. That's just toxic, right? I know a guy who wants a serious relationship, who wants, a wife, is going to be like, yeah, that's what I want for the mother of my children, for my wife to be a bad B. Like, no. Him saying bad B as a compliment is one thing, as a form of endearment is one thing, but to be like self-proclaiming, and then you have the toxic attitude and personality that goes with it, it's like, yeah, that's not cute. that's the kind of stuff that we tend to have to deal with. And then part of the whole bad B thing that tends to it comes from, online, right? The internet, right? A lot of females acting certain types of ways, certain behaviors, and then other females imitate the whole hive mind thing. So females start copying each other, start doing the same thing, start trying to look the same, Even when you scroll to like Instagram, you see a lot of similar looking faces because they put on makeup to literally try to make themselves look a certain way, which is the same type of way. So then there's very little uniqueness, very little originality. We like it when things look different. I want something that someone else doesn't have, right? That's how most guys are. Like this chick didn't look that different from the last chick. There's some similarities. She doesn't have that much makeup on, so there's that. So that's always a good thing. But then, like I said, you see some people that just have some similar appearance, trying to look a lot the same. Like this could be the same chick here. I think it's definitely two different chicks, but see the similarities. Anyway, so I'm not saying that a bad B couldn't potentially get married, be a wife and stuff like that. She could have the wife characteristics, wife traits, but when a guy's trying to decide if he's going to wife a female, a woman, she has to first and foremost be able to present those characteristics right off the bat. That's why we call it wife material. So right off the bat, if a guy refers to you as wifey material as opposed to a bad B, you're doing good, right? So that's why if you're being referred to as a bad B, it's like, well, then there's a high probability you're not going to be wifey if he sees you only as a bad B. It's one thing if it's meant to be a compliment, and then after that he's like, oh yeah, we get along, you have great personality traits, so you are wifey materials. That's why it's a good idea for females to ask a guy, especially if you're interested in being a wife. It's like, after answering a couple questions, asking a couple questions. Oh, that's nice. Asking, does he consider you to be wifey material? Because he sees you as attractive if he's talking to you. If he stays talking to you, then that means you're at least worthy of conversation, so you at least got that going for you, right? But then the next step is like, can he see himself wifing you up, right? Wanting to keep you for life, for the long term. So then that's why it's a good idea to bring up the question. You see as wifey material. And they go from there. But let's say, you do get those toxic behaviors, right? You're a bad B, but you don't want to be one, right? You don't want to be labeled as one, right? You don't want to be viewed as one. You want to change, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's the first step to improving oneself, is the desire, right? Is wanting to change. And then, put in the work, right? Put in the work. So first off, check to see, do you have any negative personality traits? Do you have any personality traits that if sometimes you gotta compare yourself to other people, right? As in, if somebody else acted like the way you act, would you be okay with them acting that way? Basically, are you okay with people treating you the way you treat them? That's what I'm saying. So if you don't like the idea of being treated the way you treat other people, then there's a toxic trait. There's something you might need to work on, right? So so obviously anything negative, like cursing, for example, right? That's definitely not considered ladylike, right? To curse. Definitely should get into the habit of cursing less if that's something you do. Unless the guy is okay with it, that's one thing. But if you're trying to impress him with your ability to express your thoughts and your feelings, right? Ladies are all about feelings, without using profanity, then that right there shows a level of maturity, right? You know, because kids, they tend to curse, right? Kids tend to even make up their own profanity, right? Poopy head and stuff like that. So to show a level of maturity, your ability to express and communicate, right? That's important. Communicate, being able to let someone know how you feel, and they can understand and be able to make it work. Is important. You want to make sure that when someone speaks about you, it's in a positive way, and you're not gonna be talked about in a positive way if you make a habit of, probably, saying what's on your mind. That tends to be a character trait of bad bees, right? Is whatever pops into their head, they'll say it. So if they dislike a person, they'll say it instead of keeping it to themselves. It's like you're entitled to dislike somebody, but the idea of like, now I gotta let everybody know that I dislike this person, is like, no, that's not necessary. It's very immature. That's not ladylike, and that's not mature to just blurt out that you dislike something. You know what I mean? Because I always see that as like the Twitter concept, right? The Twitter syndrome, where you feel like everything that pops in your head has to be tweeted. It's like, no, you don't have to announce every thought. Not everything that comes across your mind has to be announced to the world. It's like, no, it's your business. You should want your personal life, your ideas, your beliefs to be personal, to be yours, right? You don't need to announce it to the world what you think. So it's very important to be open to the idea of changing the negative personality traits and start adopting some better qualities, right? Other things that you notice with bad bees: too much makeup. Ain't nothing wrong wearing a little bit of makeup here and there. You know, guys do like it. It does look cute when you wear a nice amount of makeup that adds to your beauty, not replaces your face. Like when you're literally wearing clown makeup, basically, when your face looks totally different than it should. You should definitely make sure that it looks right. Because you want it where even when you're not wearing makeup, you still pretty much look the same. And a lot of guys out here, trying to promote the idea that's like, we want to like you for the real you. Makeup is not the real you, so you can't be wanting somebody to pick you when you're not even being the real you, your real self. You're being something that you're really not. You're out here portraying yourself as something different. So, makeup, can be an issue. So you might want to fix that. Profanity, your even your attire, right? If you dress a certain type of way, if you're trying to get a specific guy's attention, if the guy prefers a female to be dressed a little bit more modest, like you can have curves and stuff like that. Guys like what they like, but being modest, right? Holding back, don't show the world. It's the same thing as like, don't, just because something, isn't, popped into your mind doesn't mean you have to announce it to the world. Same thing with your body. You don't have to announce to the world that like, hey, I'm in good shape because I exercise. Like, well, good for you, but the whole world doesn't need to know it. It's nobody else's business, right? Other than those who you're you're in relationships with or associated with, right? Friends and family. They'll care, and but the whole world doesn't have to care and shouldn't care. But then you got people out there like the bad bees that I was talking about. They care that the world cares. They want the world to care. The world doesn't have to and shouldn't. Because you're not unique or special. You're just like many other people out there doing the same exact thing. If you want to be unique and special, you want to stand out, stop doing what they're doing, right? Wear less makeup. Dress more modest. And save those more revealing clothing for special occasions. From situations where the idea is to stand out and get the most attention because, that's what the situation calls for. But any other time, you want to blend in. You don't want to stand out. It's kind of like the idea, like if you're going to be in a bad neighborhood or in a place where, if you look a certain type of way, it would be a problem. It will draw attention to you. Then it would be logical not to dress in such a way that would draw attention to you. So, that's what I do. I try to blend into my environment as much as possible. But sometimes, if I want to stand out, I'll, dress in a way to stand out. But I typically try to blend into my environment. And it's important to blend in because when you stand out, that's where, sometimes problems can happen. Especially if you're the type of person that don't like a lot of attention in the first place or can't handle a lot of attention, then don't do things that draw attention. Because there'll literally be people who do things that gets them a lot of attention and then complain that people are giving them too much attention. It's like, but you deliberately wore something that gets you a lot of attention. So why do that? Why wear something that gets you attention, but then complain about the attention that you're getting from literally wearing it? And then your complaint is like, well, I should be able to wear this without a problem or without getting attention. It's like, well, it doesn't work that way. If what you wear didn't get you attention, well, one, we know you wouldn't wear it, and two, it wouldn't be a problem, right? It wouldn't be a problem, or you wouldn't get attention if it didn't have the ability to get you attention. But the fact that it does have the ability to get your attention is why you should be careful, right? Just like if you don't want people to treat you like you're a police officer, don't dress like one, logically. If you don't want somebody to treat you like a criminal, don't dress like one. So, and that's the thing with being a bad V is that there's a certain look, there's certain characteristics, personality-wise, lifestyle-wise. The whole, like I said, a lot of times they tend to be very materialistic, tend to be gold diggers. It's one thing to be attractive, nothing wrong with that. Everybody wants to be attractive, and they want to be attractive to the people that they want. Nothing wrong with that. But there's something wrong when your personality, when quote unquote being attractive is your personality, right? Where it's like, this is all I am. I'm attractive. look at me, this is my personality. And it's like, no, you should be more than that. Your personality is supposed to be a reflection of your life experience. If your life experience is like, I'm just attractive and that's it, to most people find me attractive, that's my personality. It's like, well, that's not much of a personality. You might want to get one. And that's the thing, some people think they have a personality. They think just because they, you know, see themselves a certain way, or they think of themselves in a certain way, that automatically equals a personality. And it's like, no. There's such thing as good personality and bad personality. You need to figure out which personality you have. That's the thing about, bad bees, right? Is that their personalities tend to be bad. It's rare for there to be a good bee, right? Like, oh, she a good bee. Like we know for a fact guys prefer good bees over bad bees any day, especially for like marriage and whatnot and long-term relationships. Bad bees are good for the fun times. That's it. But then that's the irony when you present yourself in such a way where it's like that's all you got is that you're a bad bee, and then complain that you don't get the results that most other females get who aren't classified as bad bees. And it's sad when it's like, with all the information we have in the world, the fact that we have smartphones and stuff, you would think people would be smart. You think people would know that, like, if you act like a bad bee, you'll be treated as such, and there's no extra benefits to being a bad bee other than the benefits you typically get from being a bad bee, right? But if you want more than that, then you gotta do the other stuff, the stuff that isn't a bad bee thing, to get the results that you want. That's why it's always funny that somebody who deliberately chooses a certain lifestyle is surprised that they don't get results from a different lifestyle. They expect to get the same results as somebody else. There's some females who chose the single life, the career, and this, that, and third, but then get surprised that they don't get to have the husband and children scenario. It's like, well, you didn't choose that path. You didn't learn how to be a wife, right? And some people think that being a wife is like supposed to be something generic. It's like, no. Being a wife is a specific skill set, right? It's specific to who the husband is. So if the husband is a cop, then there's certain things you need to know about being a wife to a cop. If the husband is a CEO of a company, then you need to know how to be a wife to that type of husband, and the list goes on. So that's why it's like a lot of females like to think that being a wife is generic. It's just like, well, he marries me and I'm a wife and that's it. Him and me in a relationship is all it takes for me to be a wife. It's like, no. Being a wife, especially what's ironic is a lot of females talk about partnership, but they don't even know how to be a partner. Because they think it's, it's just about equal say, about just being together, but she still lives her life as if she was single, but she just has somebody to do things with her. And it's like, no. That would technically just be dating. But when you're in a real relationship, right? Somebody's the leader and somebody's the follower. Somebody helps the other, right? It is a partnership, but it's not a equal partnership. Someone's the leader and someone's the follower, right? It's the dynamic duo, right? So the females tend to be the side kick, as it were, right? While the husband is the main hero, right? He does all the main stuff, all the hard work, while the sidekick assists in all that stuff. So it's kind of like a coach and assistant coach type situation. Y'all have equal responsibilities in certain situations. Whenever he needs you to step up and take on his responsibilities because he's unable to do it, then you step up and take on responsibilities. It's a lot like the whole president and vice president concept, right? When the president can't be president, then the vice president steps up. Same thing comes to being a wife. You step up when the husband is unable to do what he's supposed to do, but he's supposed to be the one that does stuff. So that's all we expect, is that guys definitely should get their shit together, right? To be in the leadership position, to be like I said, like be a cop or CEO of a company or the president of the United States of America, and then you support him on that, and you benefit from supporting him on that. It's just like being in a car. Somebody drives and somebody navigates. Somebody's in the driver's seat, somebody's in the passenger seat. That's how all relationships are. I mentioned it before that it's a lot like a job. If you want to be a wife, you gotta qualify to be a wife, and you're a wife to the husband, not, you know. So it's like an employee to the boss. You know, the boss is the boss. You're the employee. You work for the boss, not the other way around. But the boss does obviously have responsibilities to take care of you as their employee. They need you as much as you need them. But they're still in charge. They're still the boss. They still make the big decisions. So if that's the situation you want to be in, and that's why we always talk about, you know, pick the right guy, right? Pick the guy that is like, yeah, he definitely should be the one driving all the time. He definitely should be making 90% of the decisions. I just make suggestions and, you know, put my 2 cents into every situation to help the situation. Like, I have no problem with a woman wanting to help me, you know, with certain situations, certain decision makings, as long as it's the idea is to help me, not to disagree with me, not to combat or go against me, right? Like, for example, if I make a decision, it's like, okay, the kids misbehave, I'm going to ground them. You can't then go and be like, no, don't ground them. Like, unless you're going to, if you're going to do that, you better be able to justify it, not just because you want to disagree. You need to be able to justify it. You need to be able to make it make sense, to the point where I change my mind, like, all right, I won't ground them. That makes sense. You were able to justify me not grounding them, right? But a lot of times I see that most females out here don't do that. They just disagree to disagree. And even when you prove to them that they're wrong about something, that their decision or their disagreement was invalid, they still want to be stubborn and still hold on to the disagreement. You know? Then they try to make it into an emotional thing, right? Where it's like, oh, you hurt my feelings because, you know, you spent all this time correcting me and making me wrong, and now I'm wrong, and now I feel sad. And because I feel sad, you're wrong for making me feel sad. So I'm wrong for making you feel sad because I corrected you on being wrong. So you're wrong, and now I'm wrong because I pointed out that you're wrong. But you're the one who initially tried to make it seem like I was wrong. You disagree with me because you thought I was wrong. But when I prove I wasn't wrong and I was right, and that you were wrong, now I'm wrong because you're mad. You're mad because I proved that you're wrong, and you don't like that you're wrong, or that I proved that you're wrong, and now you're mad at me, so therefore I'm wrong for doing that. I'm wrong for proving that you're wrong. See how stupid that sounds? A lot of wrong. And it wasn't even that deep. It shouldn't even have been that deep. It should have been simpler. So, can you be a bad bee while, can you be a bad bee like you always are, with your toxic personality traits and whatnot, and be a wife? It is possible, but it's very slim. That's the thing. When it comes to like marriage and stuff like that, most guys don't want a bad bee, you know, because being a bad bee is not necessarily about being attractive. it is about personality traits, which is why I keep, which is why I'm even talking about it, because it's like most people think that when they say bad B, that they're just referring to their looks. But a lot of times, looks ain't everything. And that's the other thing I want to say, was the fact that most guys would rather have an unattractive wife with a great personality, who he gets along with, who they have great chemistry, right? Great vibes, whatever you want to call it, over looks, right? Because anybody can look good, right? Or put effort to try to look good, but doesn't mean they are good. And that's the difference. Looking good does not translate to being good, which is why it's very important that we understand the differences. And that's why when females are talking about, I'm a bad B, every guy wants a bad B. And it's like, nah, every guy would date a bad B, have sex with a bad B, right? But that's about it. Typically. They typically don't marry bad Bs. And if they do, it doesn't tend to last that long. We've seen it happen. Like, a lot of people will classify Kim Kardashian as a bad B, and she had tons of failed marriages. So, that lets you know, being a bad B, has its drawbacks, its downfalls. And that's the point I'm making. It's like, can you be a wife long term, till death you do your part, and be a bad B at the same time? History has shown, current history, I should say, has shown no. That being a bad B doesn't guarantee longevity. Being a good B has shown so far to have longevity. I see a lot of people, they be commenting, oh yeah, I'm in a 23-year marriage and blah blah blah. It's like, man, that sounds great. I mean, the way the internet talks about marriage, it makes it seem like nobody's married. But then to hear some people are married and then they've been married for 20 plus years, like, that's awesome. That's the kind of stuff I want to hear. That means these are people that found somebody that they get along with, somebody they can spend this one life that you have with, somebody you can always count on. God forbid you slip and fall and hurt yourself, and you're unable to, get to the phone and, call for help. But, hopefully you have a significant other that, hopefully find you in time and save your life, right? That's one of the many benefits of having a significant other, because that's somebody who cares about your safety, your well-being. They care if you live or die. So for those who want someone to care for them, being a wife, being a husband should be top priority. If you want someone to love you, right? Someone to care about you, you shouldn't want to be in a position where no one cares about you. And the other thing about bad Bs that I tend to notice is, since they have, bad behaviors, part of being a bad B is bad behavior, typically, is that you tend to treat people very poorly, so you tend to have very little people who like you, very little friends. Most bad B tends to try to have male friends. We all know how that doesn't work out too well, because those aren't really your friends. Your friends should be females, but if you don't get along with females, you have a problem. That's the issue right there. But yeah, in life, there's things we want to find that we need to make the most of. Let's see. If you want to make the most of what you have that are good qualities, and then present them to potential suitors. Because for most guys, when they want to choose a wife, obviously certain personality traits and stuff like that will be the deciding factor of who they choose, if they're choosing, correctly anyway. Right? A guy could choose a bad B and regret it later on. Like, oh well, you should have chose better. You should have chose a woman with that have qualities that are important for a long-term relationship. You chose a female based off of her appearance and her attitude, and because you liked it at the time, you accepted it, but over time it starts becoming annoying. You start realizing that this is not something you will like for a long time. Just like when females pick the bad boy, she likes how he acts and his current lifestyle. Like, oh my god, he's so much fun. He's so interesting. Yeah, because he's entertaining. But for now, eventually you'll get bored and tired of this entertainment, this behavior of his, and then it's like, oh, then you're gonna translate it, convert it over to toxic. Like, oh my god, he has toxic traits, blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, he always did. That was the point. He always had the toxic traits. You just overlooked it. That's the problem. You just overlooked it. You should have tried to look beyond, the immediate interest, like, oh my god, he seems like fun, and really saw the real him. And also try to consider in the long term, would I be okay with this guy acting like this every day for like 30 plus years? And if the answer is no, I wouldn't like being around somebody who acts like this all the time for that many years. Then that lets you know that, oh well, you might not want to waste too much time with this type of person, because this might be their permanent personality, right? This might literally be the way they're going to be for a long time. Same thing with a bad B. I've seen some bad Bs, in their 50s, still trying to live the hot girl summer lifestyle, the single, strong, independent, don't need no man lifestyle. But be miserable, be unhappy, complaining. It's like, well, you chose this lifestyle. You chose to be a bad B. You're a bad B in your 50s. What's the problem? Isn't this what you wanted? Right? And then they come to the realization, it's like, no, nah, it's not what I wanted. Yeah. Because you were following the trend. You thought it was trendy, cool. Because you see tons of other females talking about, strong, independent, and thought that, that you needed to do the same thing. But then you realize, nope, that is not you. You're not a bad B for life. And that's one of the issues you tend to see with most females. Because, when they pass their 20s and they're in their 30s, they start realizing that they don't want to be out and about as much. They already experienced a lot, right? They already figured out what they like and what they dislike. And ironically, they start disliking things in life more and more the older they get. The older they get, the less they like certain things. So the less they like certain things and the more things they don't like start adding up. So that way they only have a few things that they do like and they value, and then by the time they realize that those are the important stuff, those are the stuff that she truly cares about, until the day she dies, that those things might not be available to her. She's like, oh, I want a nice guy and this and that there that I can build a life with, blah blah blah. But those guys are now married because you lost your opportunity. Regardless of what most modern day females think, or feminists, since the day y'all ladies are born, y'all literally fighting time and y'all competing with each other to find someone to spend the rest of your life with, or at least to spend the last years of your life with. The first couple years of your life, live it up, right? Do you live your best life, whatever. But then eventually, your best life is going to run out, roughly around 30 or 40. Around that time frame, your you know your life starts slowing down, and then you're not going to have too many options by that time. There's still some options. That's the thing. That's the irony. Is that there's still some options. It's just that those options, you still don't even want them. Because think about it, you could have a lot of money. You could have house, cars, right? You could be living a pretty nice, comfortable life, but you're not willing to date down, as it were, and find a guy below average and settle down with. Now, of course, you could try to get a guy who's average, but a guy who's average, is more likely on his way to doing better than what he's doing. So then he's going to want better, and you won't qualify for that. So can you get lucky, right? And, find a guy that will accept you? Yeah, that's possible. But part of it is, ideally, if you can, at an early time frame, like let's say when you hit 25 or something, you start realizing like, yeah, maybe I want to, at least as a backup plan, if I change my mind and I don't want to be strong and independent and don't need no man, and I change my mind and do want a man, then I might want to start putting things in place to get that, to make sure that I could still get a man. Because most females just like, oh, I know for a fact I don't want kids. I know for a fact I don't need no man. But once they hit like 30, 40, right, 50, then the reality kicks in and they're like, yeah, I changed my mind. This is not as awesome as I liked. I thought I was going to be able to party until the day I die, and that's not true. Oh man, I effed up. And by then it'll be very, very late because you didn't put in the groundwork. One of the things I said before in my podcast series was the idea that like feminism mainly focused y'all on the idea of the option of being, independent, a career woman, this and that, third. But they didn't teach you the idea of learn how to be a wife at the same time and then choose which path is the best for you, right? Choose your destiny. Now, I believe you can do both. It's just you gotta do one, then the other. In your 20s, you gotta try to be a wife, right? Have 1 or 2 kids, right? Preferably 1 year apart, maybe 2 years apart. That way, that by the time the first child is 18 and can move out, the other child would just only be 1 or 2 years behind them to be able to move out. And then after that, right? And let's say, so 18 plus 2 years, so that's 20 years. So add that 20 to your 20s, that means you'll be in your 40s. So you'll be in your 40s, and you'll be able to, have a career, right? You can go, be a nurse or doctor, whatever. Like have a career for like at least up to your 50s, maybe even 60s or 65 and retire. So then you can, from 40 to 65, you can work and have a career at that time. You did the family thing, right? So you didn't waste your youth. You did the family thing, that's not there, and now you're having your career, right? You could do that, or you could do the whole work from home thing, right? If the idea is you just want to be able to do stuff that you like and you want to make money, make your own bag, nothing wrong with that, but you could do that while you're a wife. It's just you got to make sure that it's a work from home type of thing, right? Because you got to be home, right? And you got to take care of the family. That is your family, your responsibility. You got to take care of them just like they take care of you, right? Take care of your husband, take care of the kids, take care of yourself. And then, like I said, it's like you can do both, just not at the same time. It's hard to do the whole career thing because that's more of a lifetime thing, and then the wife thing. Those two things require a lot of time for you to like like 18 to 20 years amount of time to do either one. And it's hard to do both. Some females try, and some of them maybe succeeded, but it's not a guarantee. See, if it was a guarantee, it wouldn't be a problem. It wouldn't be like choose this path or choose that path. It would just be like do both, right? But the reason why you gotta choose is because both paths require a lot of time, a lot of your time, a lot of your energy, a lot of your mental, a lot of your focus. It's not a good idea to divide yourself, because being a wife is the same as a job. Having a career is the same as being a wife, right? These are duties. These are things you got to do mentally, physically, for long periods of time. So you have to choose. It's like, what life do you want? Do you want the career life, or do you want the wife life, right? I like the idea of, since the wife life is time dependent. That's why I encourage being a wife. That's why the whole wife material thing. I encourage that in your 20s, try to do the whole wife thing first. You can't really truly know if you want to be a wife or not unless you try, right? You need to learn how to be a wife so that you can be able to judge, like, do I really want to be a wife or not? You don't know if you want to be a wife or not until you actually try it. That's one of the weird things we have in society, is females talking about they don't want to be a wife, they don't want to be a wife. But it's like, but y'all don't even know what a wife is. To the point where I literally have to make a podcast to give y'all insight, information, knowledge about being a wife, about the whole purpose of marriage and the whole purpose of being a wife and a husband and stuff like that, like the reasons for it, and the fact that there is a time limit, so you don't have forever. You can't just be like, oh, I'm 60, time to be a wife. You don't have that as an option. Can you get lucky? Yes. But why do you want to try to get lucky? See, luck means you don't have a choice. Why do that? Why leave it up to chance? Why don't you make it where it's a choice? Why don't you choose your destiny, right? Why don't you choose your life, right? If feminism is about choice, then choose, which means you definitely should be putting effort into being a wife as much as being a career woman. A strong, independent, don't need no man. The amount of effort you put into a job is the same amount of effort you should put into a marriage, which is why it's hard to do both. Not 100% impossible, it's just harder. And we know, we've seen it so far, it has been proven time and time again. Most females don't like things to be hard. They like things to be easy. That's one of the things that's appealing to being in a relationship, being married for females, is that they have someone to make things easier for them, to help them make things easier. They have a partner, right? Someone to help them raise the kids, right? Help them make money, help them live life, help them move furniture, right? And the list goes on. Guys are very helpful, very useful, right? So that's why it's not a bad idea to attach yourself to a man, because he has benefits, right? He's very useful to you. Most females choose guys who are taller, stronger, smarter, financially better, socially better. Like, think about it. A lot of females are shy, and they tend to like guys who aren't shy, guys who are very talkative, very, very social. And slowly over time, the females learn to be less shy, be more social, because she learned it. And then the other irony is, society is made by men. Languages is made by men. Money, so forth and so forth. A lot of the stuff that's in this world is made by men. And it only makes sense to be associated with men because of the fact that 90% of the stuff in the world was created by them. You might want to get along with people who know a thing or two about these things, right? I've been in some scenarios where females needed my help with something, needed me to change a tire or
figure out their car problem, or figure out what's wrong with the TV, or move heavy objects like furnitures and stuff. And the list goes on, even protecting them. You know, like there's times where I had to defend against females who were attacking a female. Like I had to protect a female from a whole bunch of females. So it's not always protecting a female from a guy. A lot of times it's protecting a female from a whole bunch of females. And since we have this whole social rule of men not hitting women, right? It's a little tough. It's a little tough to defend a woman from a whole bunch of women, or a woman, or another woman, because of the fact that you have to try to not hurt her in the process of trying to stop her from hurting the other female, right? So it sometimes creates a problem. But mostly why I teach the females in my life to fight, right? To learn how to fight, to defend themselves, so that way I don't have to step in and try to deal with the situation, but try to avoid not creating another situation where she tries to press charges for me, like, oh my God, he touched me, he hit me, sexual harassment, all this extra nonsense. Like, oh my God, if I was a female, this wouldn't be a problem, right? But because I'm a guy, suddenly me getting involved is a problem. And then some females don't even appreciate when a guy does come to the rescue, right? When they do try to help them, they just treat them as another bad guy. I was in a scenario where if I was walking up the steps and a female was in front of me walking up the steps, she fell. I caught her so she wouldn't fall, and she had the audacity to yell at me like, "Don't touch me." It's like, okay, you welcome. Like the level of ungratefulness, like, don't touch you. It's like, you fell and I caught you. If I didn't catch you, you would have fell down the steps. You fell. It's not like I touched you and that's why you fell, or I touched you and for no reason. No, you fell into me. If it wasn't for me catching you and preventing you from knocking both of us down the steps, you know, like shit, I could have got just as injured as you did. I prevented you from getting injured, which in turn prevented me getting injured because I was behind you. I would have hit all the steps and I would have hit the ground before you. You would have been on top of me, taking less damage than me. I would have took all that damage going down the steps. So, you know, so funny to be ungrateful, but whatever. That's just the way it was, you know. In this world, it'd be ironic if I saw her some other time and she had like a crush on me or something, told me about it and whatever, but I just didn't recognize her because it was just such a random moment that I don't even recognize her, but she remembers me, you know, catching her, and that's probably when she fell in love with me or something. But I don't even recall. I wouldn't notice. I'm like, it was so random, and her rudeness to me just made her like. I remember the situation, but I don't remember her at all because that's how rude she was to me. How disrespected I felt. That I wouldn't even recognize her. I wouldn't even remember who she looks like. But the irony is, I probably saw her many times after that. You know, she probably talked to me, and she knows about the situation. She remembers the situations. I don't remember her in the situation, right? So that could be something ironic. But for the reason why we gotta be nicer to one another. You know what I mean? You know, if you need help, I'll help. But it is messed up when you try to help somebody, or you actually do help somebody, they're ungrateful. But that was the past. Hopefully people improve and get better now. You know, but bad bees, man. Y'all still have the potential, because I won't say most of y'all ladies don't look good. We're just saying that personally, y'all tend to not be good. So that would hurt you when it comes to relationships. Oh, he's so adorable. And that'll be the end of the podcast. Do better, ladies. You only get better when you do better.